take us to the beginning. Tell us the story about how you got into music.
How I got into music. I think I've been surrounded by music from a very young age. I have a lot of siblings, older and younger, and we used to be obsessed with MTV, music television. We had cable at home.
Yeah,
So
that was quite a big thing back in the 90s, because I'm also a 90s baby. And same
exactly.
thing.
It was a big thing. Like, one of my first memories was dancing to Michael Jackson's It's Black, It's White, and checking my face to see if it had changed. Because I don't know if you know that video.
No.
But check out the video and you'll understand what I mean. So we used to listen to music a lot at home, and my dad also loved music. He listened to a lot of Asmahan, a lot of John Baez, and he loved the old classic movies. And, my parents had piano lessons for us from a very young age. So I actually learned piano from when I was about 4.
Okay.
And we kept, I kept taking piano lessons until I was about 15. When kind of my ear became faster than my hands, actually. And then I started playing guitar with a friend of the family, and it's only when that happened that I started singing.
All right.
Singing and writing songs. So I was about 15 when that happened. Yeah.
And then you studied architecture. You did your master's in ثانية واحدة. I have it right here. Preservation. ثانية واحدة.
Historic preservation.
Yeah. You studied architecture, and then you've begun sort of blending in, like, building a collective memory of certain events, specifically the civil war in Lebanon, through music that's centered around buildings in Beirut. That's especially in your new solo album, Marjaa, The Battle of the Hotels. How challenging or easy was it to write music with this very goal in mind? And what inspired this particular vision behind your new album?
So I used to write pop songs before. I had a band called Safar. And the band it became impossible to write music because my bandmate had moved to America. I had moved to New York to do this thesis, to do this master's degree. So music kind of took a backseat for a bit, and I specialized in. So while I was in this band Safar, I was also an architecture student at the American University of Beirut, and I used to joke that I had a double life of Safar and being an architect. And then music really took a backseat when I went to New York because I did a master's program, as you said, in historic preservation, and I wrote this thesis about the Battle of the Hotels, which was a specific urban battle that happened between the hotels of Beirut, the hotels and skyscrapers of Beirut. And in going into the details of this battle, I discovered incredible things about my city that I had no clue about. And it was a very emotional endeavor. And, I wrote this thesis that I think changed my life, but then I had to kind of shelve it to find a job in New York City to be able to pay rent. And I started working in an architecture firm. And slowly I started losing myself, I think, because I was no longer connected to Beirut. I was no longer connected to this crazy research that I had done that had really changed me. And I was also no longer connected to music and the music scene. And it became increasingly difficult to do music with Eli, with Safar. And so I had a kind of existential crisis moment where I asked myself, who do I want to be? And by the end of that, I had decided that actually what I really wanted to do is write music. And maybe the way I can do that and use all that I had learned is write music about architecture. Write music about this thesis. And I could not do that in New York because I wanted to write about Beirut, about my country. So I decided in 2018 to go back to Beirut. And that's how Marjaa started to come to life.
You covered a few themes that I was kind of planning on asking you about, so I love that. We're on the same page. You're about to find out why. Let me just reorder. So the theme of belonging and where is home, this like recurring question of this identity crisis of like what comes with being a second or third culture kid kind of thing in the SWANA diaspora, and this nagging question of meen, yalahwy, like where do I belong? So you say you kind of had like a bit of an existential crisis, and you figured out that you want to go back to Beirut and write from there because that's possibly would inspire your music better. Can you, kind of as someone who's been there, done that, how did you find the answers on these questions, like regarding where home is? Do you think that's gonna change? Is it fluid? Is it tell me everything you're thinking of.
To me, like if I reflect on that moment in history, in my own personal journey of figuring out what is home, it came from a moment of loss. So in 2014, I lost my father. He passed away, and after that happened, I kind of decided that I would now step away from home and try to see through the stepping away what home meant to me. Because I knew that I couldn't value it if I felt stuck there. I knew that I needed some distance. And so that's when I applied to grad school and went there. And then in the summer of 2016, I also lost my aunt, my favorite aunt. She was an artist, a beautiful person, and my grandfather in 10 days. So I had like an overwhelming sense of loss. And I was also in a relationship that wasn't very healthy. And I felt really, really lost. And I felt that also being in New York City, that I really was missing a sense of community. And I was missing my parents. And I was missing... I all of a sudden had this urgency to do what I wanted to do. You know, like I felt all of a sudden, shit, life is really short. Like, and we there's no time to lose. And in this sense of urgency, I sought professional help actually, and I'm very proud that I did. And I spoke to a therapist who was so helpful because she asked me like a fundamental question. She was like, if there was anything you can do in life, what would it be?
Mm.
And I said, music. And she said, you have your answer here. You can do it. Damn. She said, if there was anywhere in the world you can be, where would you be? And I said, Beirut. And she said, go back to Beirut, make music. Like sometimes it's as simple as that.
Mm.
There's a kind of bravery in letting go of people's expectations, and your family's expectations, and your friends' expectations, and everything else, and just asking yourself a very honest question and answering honestly. And I'm not gonna tell you like so many people thought I was crazy
to go back to Beirut.
To go back to Beirut in 2018, you know, people thought I was mad. Like I was telling my friends I was going back, and they were like, "Don't." But this was something in my head, and I needed to do it. Like it was a real need. And thankfully, I had the support of my mom and my sister. And I think I could not have done it without them, for sure.
Would you, I mean, you're possibly still kind of going through it and it changes every day, but do you feel like it's paid off?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. In a huge way. Alhamdulillah. Yani, I sometimes can't believe that this is happening to me. And that it paid off, and that this kind of gamble, this experimental project, like I didn't even know it was going to work, right? It was just an idea. What if I could do this? And it took a long time. It took 5-6 years to create this album.
Wow.
It took time to convince my producer that this was a good idea. Like everyone was like, "Why would you write about such difficult subjects?" You know. It took a while to figure out also what kind of album this is. You know, we couldn't write. It's true that I couldn't write the same kind of music than I don't know if you're familiar with my music with Safar, but it's very pop. It's more accessible, maybe. It's more light. You know, I'm talking about my love life, and there's a kind of lightness. Not that it's not deep, but I had to figure out and prove that I could also do a different kind of project, different kind of music.
Yeah, it's not that it's not deep, it's just a tonal shift. A complete tonal shift, I feel.
Yes, it's a tonal shift. And I'm not writing about myself. I'm writing about the city. I'm writing about our history. And so having this be a collective project, having as many musicians as possible part of this project, I think was something very important for me. And learning new things is also something that I care about deeply. Like I think when we stop learning, we die. And so learning from the music scene, learning from different people in the music scene in Lebanon, and kind of growing with them, and even my voice became different, like by the end of this project. And learning from Beirut, because I came back to Beirut in a very difficult time. It was 2018. The you know, people felt that the crisis was about to happen, and it did. But I was there for the revolution as well, so for the uprising, and I was part of a lot of groups in the uprising. I was on the street every day. And then the economic crisis happened, Corona happened, the Beirut blast happened. I was there for all of these things, and I lived them. So also the city teaches you, and you live this city with this group of musicians, and you grow with them. And this is very valuable for me, I think.
I mean, you say in this album, I don't write about myself, but do you feel like there was a degree of self-exploration in it?
Oh, yeah. So actually, one of the first songs I wrote for the album is called Markaz Azraq, sorry.
This one is my favorite, if I may.
Yeah, so Markaz Azraq was in its very, very, very early phases, was a song about something else completely. It was a song about me kind of observing a feeling that I had of violence. And so it started, I don't know if you remember the lyrics, but it starts by saying لا أعتقد أنني أحسست بعنف كهذا. Well, this is a song I wrote after a very difficult moment in my life, in the previously mentioned very bad toxic relationship. And so I kind of felt a feeling that I had never felt before, a violence that I had never felt before. And I remember writing this song and thinking, is this what the guy of the Black Saturday massacre felt? And the song evolved eventually into being part of Marjaa. And it evolved into the building saying لا أعتقد أنني أحسست بعنف كهذا رجل يصرخ في مداخلي رجل يصرخ في شوارعي ويحض الزرق إلى الثأر. So it transformed into the building speaking rather than me. So in a way, all the emotions that I'm conveying buildings.
Sorry, do you mind repeating this bit in a way?
Yeah. So in a way, all the feelings that I'm feeling are human emotions, but I'm attributing them to buildings. And so when I talk in the name of buildings, I'm tapping into human emotions, but I'm imagining what the building would have felt. Now that I talk about it, it's making me realize that this and being and our city being kind of abused by war. And I guess that it comes from, it must come from personal experience with this feeling. And also like our ability to empathize with each other. I mean, I think it's similar with my ability to empathize with the city. Empathizing that my city has been through something terrible.
Yeah.
And that it's my job to listen. You're making me realize something. Thank you for your question and for letting me ramble.
Oh, thank you.
No,
please. I wanted to get right inside this head and kind of understand everything. So thank you for sharing. I know it's you're opening yourself up, and I really appreciate that. I wanted to bring the element of storytelling into our conversation. Storytelling is a main component in your album and music in general. How does language play into your music? What inspires your writing and the language use, whether that's Arabic, like Fusha, or Lebanese Arabic, or English? You've written in, I believe there was Lebanese, but English or Arabic, or like different dialects of Arabic. How do you make that choice?
I actually don't write in Lebanese because I write. So the way I write music is I write poems. And so far I haven't written anything in Lebanese dialect.
Why is that?
I don't know. It feels like it feels like I am more of I like to see the words in front of me. I always have a notebook with me, and I think through writing, and it's important for me to see them written. And so far, like I it's an impulse for me when I'm writing to write in Fusha. And because we speak in our dialects, and we write in Fusha, it's a very I feel like it's a very like it reminds me of school, maybe. It reminds me of, I had these amazing Arabic teachers at school, and I remember one of them used to ask us to speak in Fusha even, and I during class, and I found that really, really cool. I don't know, like I found it I found it very theatrical, almost, maybe.
Yeah.
That you would speak in Fusha during class time. I used to really like that.
That's really
and also
cool.
it's the language, of the news.
Right.
You know, like it's the language of politics. And that's also something, and it's the language of research. So the sources that you find in Arabic from all the newspapers
I did not think of that.
are all in Fusha. So whether you're reading journalism or whether you're hearing a news, and you know, politicians usually they speak in a kind of Fusha. So I kind of gravitated towards it because the first song I wrote in Arabic wasn't Fusha. It was called Wanamshi.
Love that one.
Thank you. I've been singing it on tour as a kind of encore.
I was gonna say, like, I hope you're still singing it because it's
I am.
It's one of the, and it's I don't remember which year it came out, but it really stuck with me, and I would play it in the car, and I didn't know like really who Safag was, and it was just like an enjoyable. And I still worked in radio, but to me it was like, oh, this little independent band, and then here you are. So
That's so cool.
Has the kind of ship sailed on Safag? Are you not? Or is it kind of like an open-ended situation with Safag, with Eli Abdel?
We're still really good friends. I'm seeing him very soon.
All right, but not working on music yet.
No, not working on new music. We actually have a bunch of songs that are not recorded yet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that like a hint, hint, wink, wink situation?
I mean, I wish, but he lives in Connecticut.
Yeah.
How do you make that happen? Like, he not only does he live in Connecticut, but America, I mean, they only get, did you know this? They only get 10 days of vacation per year.
I'm originally from Canada, and it's kind of the same. Well, not originally. I mean, I lived in Canada. I'm originally Egyptian, but I mean now I'm in London.
So like
It's
how
confusing. Yeah, no,
oh,
you don't really get to do much.
how do you
You don't.
record music if you have 10 days off
Yeah,
a year and your studio is in Beirut, you know?
yeah.
That was the crisis. That was part of the crisis that we went through because our last EP we kind of recorded really fast over like a few holiday over like a holiday. And it really was so stressful.
Yeah.
That was the EP called Studies of an Unknown Lover. So I wish we had time to record together.
So has the ship sailed on writing music in English either, or I mean not either, but or is that you're just kind of like it just depends on how you're feeling and what inspired you at the time?
I think for Marjaa, it's an Arabic language project because, as 100%. I said, it's kind of a political project, and the sources themselves are in Arabic. The context itself speaks Arabic.
And it's so haunting. I feel like if it was in English, it wouldn't have the same feeling. Like I think the fact that it's Arabic and it's Fusha and the music is very haunting. It just takes you in and like just gives you that feeling of being there. I've never been to Lebanon, never been to Beirut, but when I listen to it, I feel like I'm part of it, and it's part of my history. So yeah. I completely understand what you mean that it speaks Arabic, that project.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's a feeling, and I'm also like really interested in this new, not new, but I think writing in Arabic has opened up much more doors for me, and has been a more interesting exercise in finding language and like having conversations with people about specific terms. Like it's a much more interesting exercise for me, I think. And as you said, you know, speaking of identity, like it's an identity. It's part of me that I'm that I want to grow and that I want to contribute to. It's a part of the culture that I also want to contribute to, because we're in the Arabic language is in such kind of decline, I feel, and if I can contribute to it in any way, I think I would be proud in a way. But yeah, of course, I understand.
What?
I understand the impulse of wanting to write in English. I understand it, and I absolutely understand where it comes from, because we're from places that speak English. Like there's no denying that we come from cities that are multicultural. We don't live in a bubble. Almost everyone speaks multiple languages in Lebanon. I went to an American university. I learned architecture in English. You know, like there's no like one of my favorite bands in Lebanon, Postcards. Their songs are in English, and I'm absolutely in awe of Julia's songwriting, and it speaks to me immensely. You know, so who knows? Yeah, maybe I'll write English at some point, but for now,
not right now.
Not right now.
Taib, I want to ask you about, and you know, I'll put a little disclaimer on this one, because you did your master's in historic preservation at Columbia University. Would you like to comment on the current encampments and the arrests happening in protest for Palestine?
I have never been prouder to be a Columbia alumni. And I believe wholeheartedly that if there's any change that can happen, it needs to come from the States. It needs to come from America. And the students of Columbia starting this kind of revolution is extremely powerful, inspiring, indelible. Like I'm at awe. I'm in awe, and I'm heading to Boston on Monday.
All right.
And I'm planning to visit the encampments in Boston and in New York. I want to show my support, and it's absolutely dreadful what the administration has been doing. It's really so vile. Like I calling the police on them, but like feels like history is repeating itself. You know, the Vietnam War. The end of the Vietnam War started with these protests in campuses. At the end of the apartheid in South Africa as well. We're part of a historic moment. It's really like such a emotional roller coaster every day, on our phone, between death and destruction and hope and despair. And it's been like, it's really been very tough, but also very different from usual. And I hope that it's the beginning of the end of the occupation of Palestine.
I really hope so too. Yeah. It is quite different from responses from before.
Different.
Yeah, it's definitely a different
It's different this time. It's different this time. And it's I hope it's different for the best.
Yeah. Okay, what are you up to right now? You're doing some shows. You were just in London. Where are you now? Where are you going? And what are your plans for the near future?
So my tour just ended.
All right.
I will be back in Beirut in June.
All right.
And looking forward to doing concerts in Lebanon, as well as other concerts all around Europe. We really want to come to the States. We really want to come to Canada. So hit me up.
Canada is so hard. Let's talk about this off air. But let's talk about
anyone has, contact.
Yeah.
So we are still touring. We are premiering performance graphics, like performance visuals.
Oh.
Very soon, maybe in the fall. So these have been excellent director and animator who did my video Holiday in January to March. And he prepared these beautiful, beautiful graphics. I'm so, so proud. And or next time anyone sees us, we'll be playing these graphics behind us.
Beautiful.
I will performing.
All right. Any final words to your to people who are going to listen to this interview and watch it in London and Canada, please?
Thank you for listening.
Of course.
And thank you for being open to talking about difficult events in the histories of our cities. We are all connected, much more than we think. And we've all witnessed some kind of urban violence in our lives. And we need to remember that the city is ours.
Mm.
And we need to do everything in our power to reclaim our cities. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Maisa.
You're most welcome.